welcome to Heavy Stories. We're going to be reading a story, but first we're going to be reading the Bible, then we're going to do stuff, and then we're going to be reading we're going to be reading a story. Women. Hope you guys enjoy. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit the bell not missing the video. What do you want?
It's my turn.
Okay.
Got me.
If it's your turn, you have to...
He got me with the pickaxe.
If it's your turn, you have to have the thingy on. Got that, Kim?
Done.
Hello, everyone. How are you doing today? We're reading Matthew chapter 10. This is the English Standard Version of the Bible. Let me go ahead and begin. And he called to him his 12 disciples and gave them authority over unclean spirits, to cast them out and to heal every disease and every affliction. The names of the 12 apostles are these: first Simon, who is called Peter, and Andrew his brother, James the son of Zebedee, and John his brother, Philip and Bartholomew, Thomas and Matthew the tax collector, James the son of Alphaeus, and Thaddeus, Simon the zealot, and Judas Iscariot, who betrayed him. These 12 Jesus sent out, instructing them, "Go nowhere among the Gentiles, and enter no town of the Samaritans, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and proclaim as you go, saying, The King of heaven is at hand. Heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse lepers, cast out demons. You received without paying, give without pay. Acquire no gold or silver or copper for your belts, no bag for your journey, or 2 tunics or sandals, or a staff, for the laborer deserves his food. And whatever town or village you enter, find out who is worthy in it, and stay there until you depart. As you enter the house, greet it, and if the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to it, or let your peace return to you. And if anyone will not receive you or listen to your words, shake off the dust from your feet when you leave that house or town. Truly, I say to you, it will be more bearable on the day of judgment for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah than for that town." And I do not know what's going on. We're having a light malfunction day. So, "Behold, I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. Beware of men, for they will deliver you over to courts and flog you in their synagogues, and you will be dragged before the governors and kings for my sake, to bear witness before them and the Gentiles. When they deliver you over, do not be anxious how you are to speak or what you are to say, for what you are to say will be given to you in that hour. For it is not you who speak, but the Spirit of our Father speaking through you. Brother will deliver brother over to death, and the father his child, and children will rise against parents and have them put to death. And you will be hated by all for my name's sake, but the one who endures to the end will be saved. When they persecute you in one town, flee to the next, for truly I say to you, you will not have gone through all the towns of Israel before the Son of Man comes. A disciple is not above his teacher, nor a servant above his master. It is enough for the disciple to be like his teacher, and the servant like his master. If they have called the master of the house Beelzebul, how much more will they malign those of his household? So have no fear of them, for nothing is covered that will not be revealed, or hidden that will not be known. What I tell you in the dark, say in the light, and what you hear whispered, proclaim on the housetops. And do not fear those who kill the body, but cannot kill the soul. Rather fear him who can destroy both soul and body in hell. Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny, and not one of them will fall to the ground apart from your Father? But even the hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear not, therefore. You are of more value than many sparrows. So everyone who acknowledges me before men, I will acknowledge before my Father who is in heaven. But whoever denies me before men, I also will deny before my Father who is in heaven. Do not think that I have come to bring peace to the earth. I have not come to bring peace, but a sword. For I have come to set a man against his father, and a daughter against her mother, and a daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a person's enemies will be those of his own household. Whoever loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me, and whoever loves son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. And whoever does not take his cross and follow me is not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. Whoever receives you receives me, and whoever receives me receives him who sent me. The one who receives a prophet because he is a prophet will receive a prophet's reward, and the one who receives a righteous person because he is a righteous person will receive a righteous person's reward. And whoever gives one of these little ones even a cup of cold water because he is a disciple, truly I say to you, he will by no means lose his reward. And that actually just reminded me of one time when we were out. He literally said a cup of cold water. We were out painting the house and in Lawton when we were there, and some people from our church. It was a lady and her children, and she stopped by and she went to Sonic and brought us cold water from Sonic, which probably cost her like 25 cents maybe per cup or something. But I thought that was a really nice gesture. So anyway, someone who brought cold water to someone. All right, so I don't know. That's kind of random. Maybe he sometimes means that literally, and maybe sometimes there's another application that can be put on that. But anyway, that is what came to my mind just at that moment. So, in the last chapter, what happened... Let me open it up. What on earth? Oh, I think no. JJ's saying it's not my turn anymore. All right, so in the last chapter, what happened... I'm trying to remember. Oh, yes. So, Jo turned in her manuscript for 2 short stories that she'd written, and the publisher wrote her back and apologized for not publishing because he doesn't publish new authors, and so he sent the manuscripts back, and Jo was dejected for the rest of her life, and she had trauma and had to go have therapy after that, and basically her life was ruined. So here's Kimberly to say what really happened. And the lighting is messed up today. I don't know why.
I think your camera's trying to adjust. I think you need to tilt it.
Is that better?
No, it's...
Well, anyway, she actually did get on the paper, and she did really well, and she was extremely excited about it, and, she read it to the rest of her family before telling them who the author was, and then when they asked who wrote this, it's amazing, she said, I did, or something similar.
Your daughter, no, your sister.
Yours truly, or something like that.
She said your sister.
And then they were all excited and happy. I'm gonna hand it off to Dad, who's going to read us a story. And apparently Dad needs the pickaxes.
Yes, he does.
Oh!
You have been stirred upon the power of Minecraft.
I've been stabbed by the pickaxe. Slappy bracelet. All right. So now we're on chapter 15, a telegram. We're going to try to get through 2 chapters today. Let me see if this does anything. That makes it dark. That makes it not dark, but now it's going to be weird. Maybe this is... All right. So this is... Sorry, I've got something in my eye. Stop. I've got something in my eye. I've got some allergies, but we're going to try to bear through this. All right. My goal was to finish Little Women by the end of January. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but we have 4 more episodes before we finish part 1. All right. Chapter 15, A Telegram. November is the most disagreeable month in the whole year, said Margaret, standing at the window one dull afternoon, looking out at the frost-bitten garden. That's the reason I was born in it, observed Jo, pensively, quite unconscious of the blot on her nose. If something very pleasant should happen now, we should think it a delightful month, said Beth, who took a hopeful view of everything, even November. I dare say, but nothing pleasant ever does happen in this family, said Meg, who was out of sorts. We go grubbing along day after day without a bit of change and very little fun. We might as well be in a treadmill. I don't think treadmills were electronic back then. My patience, how blue we are, cried Jo. I don't much wonder, poor dear, for you see other girls having splendid times, while you grind year in and year out. Oh, don't I wish I could fix things for you, as I do for my heroines. You're pretty enough and good enough already, so I'd have some rich relation leave you a fortune unexpectedly. Then you'd dash out as a heiress, scorn everyone who has slighted you, go abroad, and come home by my lady something in a blaze of splendor and elegance. People don't have fortunes left to them in that style nowadays. Men have to work, and women to marry for money. It's a dreadfully unjust world, said Meg bitterly. Jo and I are going to make fortunes for you all. Just wait 10 years and see if we don't, said Amy, who sat in a corner making mud pies, as Hannah called her little clay models of bird, fruit, and faces. Can't wait, and I'm afraid I haven't much faith in ink and dirt, though I'm grateful for your good intentions. Meg sighed and turned to the frostbitten garden again. Excuse me. Jo groaned and leaned both elbows on the table in a despondent attitude, but Amy spatted away energetically, and Beth, who sat at the other window, said, smiling, 2 pleasant things are going to happen right away. Marmee is coming down the street, and Laurie is tramping through the garden as if he had something nice to tell. In they both came, Mrs. March with her usual question. Any letter from father, girls? Said Laurie. And Laurie to say in his persuasive way, won't some of you come for a drive? I've been pegging away at mathematics till my head is in the muddle, and I'm going to freshen my wits by a brisk turn. It's a dull day, but the air isn't bad, and I'm going to take Brooke home, so it will be gay inside if it isn't out. Come, Jo, you and Beth will go, won't you? Of course we will. Much obliged, but I'm busy, said Meg, and she whisked out her work-basket, for she had agreed with her mother that it was best for her at least not to drive often with the young gentleman. We 3 will be ready in a minute, cried Amy, running away to wash her hands. Can I do anything for you, Madam Mother? Asked Laurie, leaning over Mrs. March's chair with the affectionate look and tone he always gave her. No, thank you, except call at the office, if you'll be so kind, dear. It's our day for a letter, and the penny postman hasn't been. Father is as regular as the sun, but there's some delay on the way, perhaps. A sharp ring interrupted her, and a minute after Hannah came in with the letter. It's one of them horrid telegraph things, Mum, she said, handing it as if she was afraid it would explode and do some damage. At the word telegraph, Mrs. March snatched it, read the 2 lines it contained, and dropped back into her chair as white as if the little paper had sent a bullet to her heart. Laurie dashed downstairs for water, while Meg and Hannah supported her, and Jo read aloud in a frightened voice. Mrs. March, your husband is very ill. Come at once. S. Hale, Blank Hospital, Washington. How still the room was as they listened breathlessly, how strangely the day darkened outside, and how suddenly the whole world seemed to change as the girls gathered about, their mother feeling as if all the happiness and support of their lives was about to be taken from them. Mrs. March was herself again directly, read the message over, and stretched out her arms to her daughters, saying, in a tone they never forgot, I shall go at once, but it may be too late. Oh, children, children, help me to bear it. For several minutes there was nothing but the sound of sobbing in the room, mingled with broken words of comfort, tender assurances of help, and hopeful whispers that died away in tears. Poor Hannah was the first to recover, and with unconscious wisdom she set all the rest in a good example, for with her work was the panacea for most afflictions. The Lord keep the dear man. I won't waste no time a-cryin', but get your things ready right away, mum, she said heartily as she wiped her face on her apron, gave her mistress a warm shake of the hand with her own hard one, and went away to work like 3 women in one. She's right. There's no time for tears now. Be calm, girls, and let me think. They tried to be calm, poor things, as their mother sat up, looking pale but steady, and put away her grief to think and plan for them. "Where's Laurie?" she asked presently, when she had collected her thoughts, and decided on the first duties to be done. "Here, ma'am. Oh, let me do something," cried the boy, hurrying from the next room, whither he had withdrawn, feeling that their first sorrow was too sacred for even his friendly eyes to see. "Send a telegram saying I will come at once. The next train goes early in the morning. I'll take that." "What else? The horses are ready. I can go anywhere, do anything," he said, looking ready to fly to the ends of the earth. "Leave a note at Aunt March's, Joe, and give me that pen and paper." Tearing off the blank side of one of her newly copied pages, Joe drew the table before her mother, well knowing that money for the long, sad journey must be borrowed, and feeling as if she could do anything to add a little to the sum for her father. "Now go, dear, but don't kill yourself driving at a desperate pace. There is no need of that." Mrs. March's warning was evidently thrown away, for 5 minutes later Laurie tore by the window on his own fleet horse, riding as if for his life. "Joe, run to the rooms and tell Mrs. King that I can't come. On the way, get these things. I'll put them down. They'll be needed, and I must go prepared for nursing. Hospital stores are not always good. Beth, go and make Mr. Lawrence for a couple of bottles of old wine. I'm not too proud to beg for father. He shall have the best of everything. Amy, tell Hannah to get down the black trunk, and Meg, come and help me find my things, for I'm half bewildered." Writing, thinking, and directing all at once might well bewilder the poor lady, and Meg begged her to sit quietly in her room for a little while and let them work. Every one scattered like leaves before a gust of wind, and the quiet, happy household was broken up as suddenly as if the paper had been an evil spell. Mr. Lawrence came hurrying back with Beth, bringing every comfort the kind old gentleman could think of for the invalid, and friendliest promises of protection for the girls during the mother's absence, which comforted her very much. There was nothing he didn't offer, from his own dressing gown to himself as escort, but that last was impossible. Mrs. March would not hear of the old gentleman's undertaking the long journey, yet an expression of relief was visible when he spoke of it, for anxiety ill fits one for traveling. He saw the look, knit his heavy eyebrows, rubbed his hands, and marched abruptly away, saying he'd be back directly. No one had time to think of him again till, as Meg ran through the entry, with a pair of rubbers in one hand and a cup of tea in the other, she came suddenly upon Mr. Brooke. "I'm very sorry to hear of this, Miss March," he said, in the kind, quiet tone which sounded very pleasantly to her perturbed spirit. "I came to offer myself as escort to your mother. Mr. Lawrence has commissions for me in Washington, and it will give me real satisfaction to be of service to her there." Down dropped the rubbers, and the tea was very near following, as Meg put out her hand with a face so full of gratitude that Mr. Brooke would have felt repaid for a much greater sacrifice than the trifling one of time and comfort which he was about to make. "How kind you all are. Mother will accept, I'm sure, and it will be such a relief to know that she has someone to take care of her. Thank you very, very much." Meg spoke earnestly and forgot herself entirely, till something in the brown eyes looking down at her made her remember the cooling tea, and lead the way into the parlor, saying she would call her mother. Everything was arranged by the time Laurie returned with a note from Aunt March, enclosing the desired sum and a few lines repeating what she had often said before, that she had always told them it was absurd for March to go into the army, always predicted that no good would come of it, and she hoped they would take her advice next time. Mrs. March put the note in the fire, the money in her purse. That's a good place for it, right? The money in her purse, and went on with her preparations, with her lips folded tightly, in a way which Jo would have understood if she had been there. The short afternoon wore away, all the other errands were done, and Meg and her mother busy at home at some necessary needlework, while Beth and Amy got tea, and Hannah finished her ironing with what she called a slap and a bang, but still Jo did not come. They began to get anxious, and Laurie went off to find her, for no one ever knew what freak Jo might take into her head. He missed her, however, and she came walking in with a very queer expression of countenance, for there was a mixture of fun and fear, satisfaction and regret in it, which puzzled the family as much as did the roll of bills she laid before her mother, saying, with a little choke in her voice, "That's my contribution toward making father comfortable and bringing him home." "My dear, where did you get it?" $25, Jo! I hope you haven't done anything rash." "No, it's mine, honestly. I didn't beg, borrow, or steal it. I earned it, and I don't think you'll blame me, for I only sold what was my own." As she spoke, Jo took off her bonnet, and a general outcry arose, for all her abundant hair was cut short. "Your hair! Your beautiful hair! Oh, Jo, how could you? Your one beauty! My dear girl, there was no need of this. She doesn't look like my Jo any more, but I love her dearly for it," as everyone exclaimed, and Beth hugged the cropped head tenderly. Jo assumed an indifferent air which did not deceive any one a particle, and said, rumpling up the brown bush and trying to look as if she liked it, "It doesn't affect the fate of the nation, so don't wail, Beth. It will be good for my vanity. I was getting too proud of my wig. It will do my brains good to have that mop taken off. My head feels deliciously light and cool, and the barber said I could soon have a curly crop which will be boyish, becoming, and easy to keep in order. I'm satisfied, so please take the money and let's have supper." "Tell me all about it, Jo. I am not quite satisfied, but I can't blame you, for I know how willingly you sacrificed your vanity, as you call it, to your love. But, my dear, it was not necessary, and I'm afraid you will regret it one of these days," said Mrs. March. "No, I won't," returned Jo stoutly, feeling much relieved that her prank was not entirely condemned. "What made you do it?" asked Amy, who would as soon have thought of cutting off her head as her pretty hair. "Well, I was wild to do something for father," replied Jo, as they gathered about the table, "for healthy young people can eat even in the midst of trouble. I hate to borrow as much as mother does, and I knew Aunt March would croak. She always does if you ask for 9p. Meg gave all her quarterly salary toward the rent, and I only got some clothes with mine, so I felt wicked, and was bound to have some money if I sold the nose off my face to get it." "You needn't feel wicked, my child. You had no winter things, and got the simplest with your own hard earnings," said Mrs. March, with a look that warmed Jo's heart. "I hadn't the least idea of selling my hair at first, but as I went along I kept thinking what I could do, and feeling as if I'd like to dive into some of the rich stores and help myself. In a barber's window I saw tails of hair with the prices marked, and one black tail longer but not so thick as mine was $40. It came over me all of a sudden that I had one thing to make money out of, and, without stopping to think, I walked in, asked if they bought hair, and what they would give for mine." "I don't see how you dared to do it," said Beth, in a tone of awe. "Oh, he was a little man who looked as if he merely lived to oil his hair. He gathered he rather stared at first, as if he wasn't used to having girls bounce into his shop and ask him to buy their hair. He said he didn't care about mine, it wasn't the fashionable color, and he never paid much for it in the first place. The work put into it made it dear, and so on. It was getting late, and I was afraid if it wasn't done right away, that I shouldn't have it done at all. And you know, when I start to do a thing, I hate to give it up, so I begged him to take it, and told him why I was in such a hurry. It was silly, I dare say, but it changed his mind, for I got rather excited, and told the story in my topsy-turvy way, and his wife heard, and she said so kindly, "Take it, Thomas, and oblige the young lady. I'll do as much for our Jimmy any day if I had a spire of hair worth selling." "Who was Jimmy?" asked Amy, who liked to have things explained as they went along. "Her son," she said, "who was in the army. How friendly such things make strangers feel, don't they?" She talked away all the time. The man clipped and diverted my mind nicely. "Didn't you feel dreadfully when the first cut came?" asked Meg with a shiver. I took a last look at my hair while the man got his things, and that was the end of it. I never snivel over trifles like that. I will confess, though, I felt queer when I saw the dear old hair laid out on the table, and felt only the short, rough ends on my head. It almost seemed as if I'd an arm or a leg cut off. The woman saw me look at it and picked out a long lock for me to keep. "I'll give it to you, Marmee, just to remember past glories by, for a crop is so comfortable. I don't think I shall ever have a mane again." Mrs. March folded the wavy chestnut lock and laid it away with her short grey one in her desk, a short grey one. She only said, "Thank you, dearie," but something in her face made the girls change the subject and talk as cheerfully as they could about Mr. Brooks' kindness, the prospect of a fine day tomorrow, and the happy times they would have when father came home to be nursed. No one wanted to go to bed when at 10 o'clock Mrs. March put by the last finished job and said, "Come, girls." Beth went to the piano and played the father's favorite hymn. All began bravely, but broke down one by one till Beth was left alone, singing with all her heart, for to her music was always a sweet consoler. "Go to bed and don't talk, for we must be up early and shall need all the sleep we can get. Good night, my darlings," said Mrs. March, as the hymn ended, for no one cared to try another. They kissed her quietly and went to bed as silently as if the dear invalid lay in the next room. Beth and Amy soon fell asleep in spite of the great trouble, but Meg lay awake thinking the most serious thoughts she had ever known in her short life. Jo lay motionless, and her sister fancied that she was asleep, till a stifled sob made her exclaim as she touched a wet cheek, "Jo, dear, what is it? Are you crying about father?" "No, not now." "What then? My hair," burst out poor Jo, trying vainly to smother her emotion in the pillow. It did not sound at all comical to Meg, who kissed and caressed the afflicted heroine in the tenderest manner. "I am not sorry," protested Jo with a choke. I'd do it again tomorrow if I could. It's only the vain, selfish part of me that goes and cries in this silly way. Don't tell anyone. It's all over now. I thought you were asleep, so I just made a little private moan for my one beauty. How came you to be awake?" "I can't sleep. I'm so anxious," said Meg. "Think about something pleasant, and you'll soon drop off." I tried it, but felt wider awake than ever. "What did you think of?" "Handsome faces, eyes particularly," answered Meg, smilingly to herself in the dark. "What color do you like best?" "Brown. That is, sometimes blue are lovely." Jo laughed, and Meg sharply ordered her not to talk, then amiably promised to make her hair curl, and fell asleep to dream of living in her castle in the air. The clocks were striking midnight, and the rooms were very still, as a figure glided quietly from bed to bed, smoothing a coverlid here, setting a pillow there, and pausing to look long and tenderly at each unconscious face, to kiss each with lips that mutely blessed, and to pray the fervent prayers which only mothers utter. As she lifted the curtain to look out into the dreary night, the moon broke suddenly from behind the clouds and shone upon her like a bright, benignant face, which seemed to whisper in the silence, "Be comforted, dear heart. There is always light behind the clouds." And that word coverlid, I didn't know what that meant. An archaic term for a coverlet or bedspread. So that is a coverlid. All right, so that's the end of chapter 15. We'll go back and look at the pictures very quickly. And if I can turn pages, which... All right, so here is from the 1933 Katharine Hepburn film. Here is Joe without hair. And here is a lock of Alcott's hair from the collections at the Orchard House. It's not creepy at all that they have hair from somebody that lived in the 1800s. Here is a picture, artist Harold Copping, a picture of Jo getting her hair cut at the barber, and there's the barber and the barber's wife. And I think there was one more. Nope, that's it. That's all the chapters, or all the pictures from this chapter. And now we're going to read chapter 16. Did you have something?
You said something about the cover lid?
Cover lid.
Yeah.
Is the term that Louisa May Alcott used.
I thought that it was kind of like covers, because...
Yeah, covers. I can see how etymologically it has turned into covers, and so that's maybe where we get the word covers. All right, so not to mention that they cover us when we're sleeping. All right, so chapter 16, Letters. In the cold gray dawn, the sisters lit their lamp and read their chapter with an earnestness never felt before, for now the shadow of a real trouble had come, showing them how rich in sunshine their lives had been. The little books were full of help and comfort, and, as they dressed, they agreed to say goodbye cheerfully, hopefully, and send their mother on her anxious journey unsaddened by tears or complaints from them. Everything seemed very strange when they went down, so dim and still outside, so full of light and bustle within. Breakfast at that early hour seemed odd, and even Hannah's familiar face looked unnatural as she flew about her kitchen with her nightcap on. The big trunk stood ready in the hall. Mother's cloak and bonnet lay on the sofa, and Mother herself sat trying to eat, but looking so pale and worn with sleeplessness and anxiety that the girls found it very hard to keep their resolution. Meg's eyes kept filling in spite of herself. Jo was obliged to hide her face in the kitchen roller more than once, and the little girls' young faces wore a grave, troubled expression, as if sorrow was a new experience to them. Nobody talked much, but as the time drew very near and they sat waiting for the carriage, Mrs. March said to the girls, who were all busied about her, one folding her shawl, another smoothing out the strings of her bonnet, a third putting on her overshoes, and a fourth fastening up her traveling bag, "Children, I leave you to Hannah's care and Mr. Lawrence's protection. Hannah is faithfulness itself, and our good neighbor will guard you as if you were his own. I have no fears for you, yet I am anxious that you should take this trouble rightly. Don't grieve and fret when I am gone, or think that you can comfort yourselves by being idle and trying to forget. Go on with your work as usual, for work is a blessed solace. Hope and keep busy, and whatever happens, remember that you never can be fatherless. Yes, Mother. Meg, dear, be prudent, watch over your sisters, consult Hannah, and in any perplexity go to Mr. Lawrence. Be patient, Joe. Don't get despondent or do rash things. Write to me often, and be my brave girl, ready to help and cheer us all. Beth, comfort yourself with your music, and be faithful to the little home duties. And you, Amy, help all you can. Be obedient and keep happy, safe at home. We will, Mother, we will. The rattle of an approaching carriage made them all start and listen. That was the hard minute, but the girls stood it well. No one cried, no one ran away, or uttered a lamentation, though their hearts were very heavy as they sent loving messages to Father, remembering as they spoke that it might be too late to deliver them. They kissed their mother quietly, clung about her tenderly, and tried to wave their hands cheerfully when she drove away. Laurie and his grandfather came over to see her off, and Mr. Brooke looked so strong and sensible and kind that the girls christened him Mr. Greatheart on the spot. "Goodbye, my darlings. God bless and keep us all," whispered Mrs. March, and as she kissed one dear little face after the other and hurried into the carriage. As she rolled away, the sun came out, and, looking back, she saw it shining on the group at the gate, like a good omen. They saw it also, and smiled and waved their hands, and the last thing she beheld as she turned the corner was the 4 bright faces, and behind them, like a bodyguard, old Mr. Lawrence, faithful Hannah, and devoted Laurie. "How kind everyone is to us," she said, turning to find fresh proof of it in the respectable sympathy of the young man's face. "I don't see how they can help it," returned Mr. Brooke, laughing so infectiously that Mrs. March could not help smiling, and so the long journey began with the good omens of sunshine, smiles, and cheerful words. "I feel as if there had been an earthquake," said Joe, as their neighbors went home to breakfast, leaving them to rest and refresh themselves. "It seems as if half the house was gone," added Meg forlornly. Beth opened her lips to say something, but could only point to a pile of nicely mended hose which lay on Mother's table, showing that even in her last hurried moments she had thought and worked for them. It was a little thing, but it went straight to their hearts, and in spite of their brave resolutions, they all broke down and cried bitterly. Hannah wisely allowed them to relieve their feelings, and when the shower showed signs of clearing up, she came to the rescue armed with a coffee pot. "Now, my dear young ladies, remember what your ma said, and don't fret. Come and have a cup of coffee all around, and then let's fall to work, and be a credit to the family." Coffee was a treat, and Hannah showed great tact in making it that morning. No one could resist her persuasive nods or the fragrant invitation issuing from the nose of the coffee pot. They drew up to the table, exchanged their handkerchiefs for napkins, and in 10 minutes were all right again. Hope and keep busy, that's the motto for us, so let's see who will remember it best. I shall go to Aunt March as usual. Oh, won't she lecture, though? Said Joe, as she sipped with returning spirit. I shall go to my King's, though. I'd much rather stay at home and attend to things here, said Meg, wishing she hadn't made her eyes so red. No need of that, Beth, and I can keep house perfectly well, put in Amy, with an important air. Hannah will tell us what to do, and we'll have everything nice when you come home, added Beth, getting out her mop and dish-tub without delay. I think anxiety is very interesting, observed Amy, eating sugar pensively. The girls couldn't help laughing and felt better for it, though Meg shook her head at the young lady who could find consolation in the sugar bowl. The sight of the turnovers made Joe sober again, and when the two went out to their daily tasks, they looked sorrowfully back at the window where they were accustomed to see their mother's face. It was gone, but Beth had remembered the little household ceremony, and there she was, nodding away at them like a rosy-faced mandarin. That's so like my Beth, said Joe, waving her hat with a grateful face. Goodbye, Meggie. I hope the Kings won't train today. Don't fret about Father, dear, she added as they parted. And I hope Aunt March won't croak. Your hair is becoming, and it looks very boyish and nice, returned Meg, trying not to smile at the curly head, which looked comically small on her tall sister's shoulders. That's my only comfort, and touching her hat is a la Laurie. Away went Joe, feeling like a shorn sheep on a wintry day. News from their father comforted the girls very much, for though dangerously ill, the presence of the best and tenderest of nurses had already done him good. Mr. Brooke sent a bulletin every day, and as the head of the family, Meg insisted on reading the dispatches, which grew more and more cheering as the week passed. At first everyone was eager to write, and plump envelopes were carefully poked into the letter-box by one or other of the sisters who felt rather important with their Washington correspondence. As one of these packets contained characteristic notes from the party, we will rob an imaginary mail and read them. My dearest mother, it is impossible to tell you how happy your last letter made us, for the news was so good we couldn't help laughing and crying over it. How very kind Mr. Brooke is, and how fortunate that Mr. Lawrence's business detains him near you so long, since he is so useful to you and father. The girls are all as good as gold. Joe helps me with the sewing and insists on doing all sorts of hard jobs. I should be afraid she might overdo, but I didn't know that her moral fit wouldn't last long. Beth is as regular about her tasks as a clock, and never forgets what you told her. She grieves about father and looks sober except when she is at her little piano. Amy minds me nicely, and I take great care of her. She does her own hair, and I am teaching her to make buttonholes and mend her stockings. She tries very hard, and I know you will be pleased with her improvement when you come. Mr. Lawrence watches over us like a motherly old hen, and Joe, as Joe says, and Laurie is very kind and neighborly. He and Joe keep us merry, for we get pretty blue sometimes and feel like orphans with you so far away. Hannah is a perfect saint. She does not scold at all and always calls me Miss Margaret, which is quite proper, you know, and treats me with respect. We are all well and busy, but we long day and night to have you back. Give my dearest love to father, and believe me, ever your own, Meg. This note, prettily written on scented paper, was a great contrast to the next, which was scribbled on a big sheet of thin foreign paper ornamented with blots and all manner of flourishes and curly-tailed letters. My precious Marmee, 3 cheers for dear old father. Brooke was a trump to telegraph right off and let us know the minute he was better. I rushed up garret with the letter when the letter came, and tried to thank God for being so good to us, but I could only cry and say, I'm glad, I'm glad. Didn't that do as well as a regular prayer? For I felt a great many in my heart. We have such funny times, and now I can enjoy 'em, for everyone is so desperately good. It's like living in the nest of turtle doves. You'd laugh to see Meg head the table and try to be motherish. She gets prettier every day, and I'm in love with her sometimes. The children are regular archangels, and I'm Joe, and never shall be anything else. Oh, I must tell you that I came near having a quarrel with Laurie. I freed my mind about a silly little thing, and he was offended. I was right, but didn't speak as I ought, and he marched home, saying he wouldn't come again till I begged pardon. I declared I wouldn't, and got mad. It lasted all day. I felt bad, and wanted you very much. Laurie and I are both so proud, it's hard to beg pardon, but I thought he'd come to it, for I was in the right. He didn't come, and just at night I remembered what you said when Amy fell into the river. I read my little book, felt better, resolved not to let the sun set on my anger, and ran over to tell Laurie I was sorry. I met him at the gate, coming for the same thing. We both laughed, begged each other's pardon, and felt all good and comfortable again. I made a poem yesterday when I was helping Hannah wash, and as father likes my silly little things, I put it in to amuse him. Give him the lovingest hug that ever was, and kiss yourself a dozen times for your topsy-turvy Joe. A song from the Suds. Queen of my tub, I merrily sing, while the white foam rises high, and sturdily wash and rinse and wring, and fasten the clothes to dry. Then out in the free, fresh air they swing, under the sunny sky. I wish we could wash from our hearts and souls the stains of the week away, and let water and air by their magic make ourselves as pure as they. Then on the earth there would be indeed a glorious washing day. Along the path of a useful life will heart's ease ever bloom. The busy mind has no time to think of sorrow or care or gloom, and anxious thoughts may be swept away as busily wield a broom. I am glad a task to me is given to labor at day by day, for it brings me health and strength and hope, and I cheerfully learn to say, head you may think, heart you may feel, but hand you shall work away. Dear mother, there is only room for me to send my love and some pressed pansies from the root I have been keeping safe in the house for father to see. I read every morning, try to be good all day, and sing myself to sleep with father's tune. I can't sing Land in the Leal now. It makes me cry. Everyone is very kind, and we are as happy as we can be without you. Amy wants the rest of the page, so I must stop. I didn't forget to cover the holders, and I wind the clock and air the rooms every day. Kiss dear father on the cheek he calls mine. Oh, do come soon to your loving little Beth. And I just noticed on the side it has the words to Land of the Leal, so I thought we'd just go ahead and read it. I'm wearin' awa Jean, like snaw when it's thaw Jean. I'm wearin' awa to the land of the Leal. There's nae sorrow there, Jean. There's neither cold nor care, Jean. The day is aye fair in the land of the Leal. Ye were aye leal and true, Jean. Your tasks ended new, Jean, and I'll welcome you to the land of the Leal. Our bonny bairn's there, Jean. She was baith guid and fair, Jean. Oh, we grudged her right sair to the land of the Leal. Then dry that tearful eye, Jean. My soul langs to be free, Jean, and angels wait on me to the land of the Leal. Now fare ye weel, my ain Jean. This ward's care is vain, Jean. We'll meet and I be fain in the land of the Leal. And I'll try to find a YouTube video of maybe the song itself. That would be kind of fun. All right, so, and then finally, Ma chère maman, we are all well. I do my lessons always and never corroborate the girls. Meg says I mean contradict, so I put in both words, and you can take the properest. Meg is a great comfort to me and lets me have jelly every night at tea. It's so good for me, Joe says, because it keeps me sweet-tempered. Laurie is not as respectful as he ought to be now. I am almost in my teens. He calls me chick and hurts my feelings by talking French to me very fast when I say merci or bonjour or as Hattie King does. The sleeves of my blue the sleeves of my blue dress were all worn out, and Meg put in new ones, but the full front came wrong, and they are more blue than the dress. I felt bad, but did not fret. I bear my troubles well, but I do wish Hannah would put more starch in my aprons and have buckwheats every day. Can't she? Didn't I make that interrogation point nice? Some of these words are spelled really interestingly. Meg says my punctuation, it's punctuation and spelling are disgraceful, and I'm mortified. But dear me, I have so many things to do I can't stop. Adieu. I send heaps of love to Papa, your affectionate daughter, Amy Curtis March. Dear Miss March, I just drop a line to say we get on first rate. The girls is clever and fly round right smart. Miss Meg is going to make a proper good housekeeper. She has the likin' for it and gets the hang of things surprisin' quick. Joe does beat all for goin' ahead, but she don't stop to calculate first, and you never know where she's like to bring up. She done out a tub of clothes on Monday, but she starched 'em afore they was wrenched, and blued a pink calico dress till I thought I should ha' died laughin'. Beth is the best of little creeters, and a sight of help to me, bein' so four-handed and dependable. She tries to learn everything, and really goes to market beyond her years. Likewise keeps accounts with my help, quite wonderful. We have got on very economical so fur. I don't let the girls have coffee only once a week, according to your wish, and keep 'em on plain wholesome victuals. Amy does well about frettin', wearin' her best clothes and eatin' sweet stuff. Mr. Lorry is as full of didos as usual, which is antics and mischief, as usual, and turns the house upside down frequent, but he heartens up the girls, and so I let 'em have full swing. The old man sends heaps of things, and is rather wearin', but means well, and it ain't my place to say nothin'. My bread is rise, so no more at this time. I send my duty to Mr. March, and hope he's seen the last of his pneumonia. Yours respectful, Hannah Mullet. Head nurse of Ward 2. All serene on the Rappahannock. Troops in fine condition. Commissary department well conducted. The Home Guard under Colonel Teddy always on duty. Commander-in-Chief General Lawrence reviews the army daily. Quartermaster Mullet keeps order in camp, and Major Leon does picket duty at night. A salute of 24 guns was fired on receipt of good news from Washington, and a dress parade took place at headquarters. Commander-in-Chief sends best wishes, in which he is heartily joined by Colonel Teddy. The Rappahannock is a river that flows through northern Virginia. So that was mentioned in that last letter. Dear Madam, the little girls are all well. Beth and my boy report daily. Hannah is a model servant. Guards pretty Meg like a dragon. Glad the fine weather holds. Pray make Brooke useful, and draw on me for funds if expenses exceeds your estimate. Don't let your husband want anything. Thank God he is mending. Your sincere friend and servant, James Lawrence. And so here are some pictures. So we've got General Ambrose E. Burnside, which is on the right, and he commanded the Army of the Potomac, which Mr. March was serving in, and Burnside ordered an all-out attack on the Confederate Army in Northern Virginia, led by Master Tactician General Robert E. Lee. The assault on Lee's strongly defended position proved futile and horrifically costly, resulting in more than 12,000 Union casualties. So, during the time of this chapter. So here's some pictures of some Union general. And here is Beth winding up the clock. That's usually Kimberly's job when we're here. And I think that might be that is all the pictures in this chapter. So I will try to look for a YouTube video of the song that was mentioned in that one letter, and that is the end of the chapter. I didn't look up the name of the next chapter, so I apologize, but I hope that you have a great night. God bless you, and we'll see you again next time, in which we get to continue reading Little Women, and good night.